Doom casting. Exactly. It's a form of spell that people just are constantly become more and more anxious and more fearful about the very nature of their existence.
Yeah.
And just capitulate to authorities. And who's the one doing the doom casting? The authorities, of course.
Yeah. So speaking of delegating authority, delegating your freedom and your thought processes to authorities, how about this? Seattle students without updated vaccination records will be excluded from class starting January 8th. So some people, including myself, see the public education system as sort of a welfare program. It is a childcare program for many people, and they're dependent on that institution to take care of their kids and to raise them for them. And so, but in order to get those services, which you pay for, whether you rent or own property, you're paying taxes indirectly or directly that go right to the public school system, you're going to be excluded if you don't update. They say this is a whitewash right here. Updated vaccination records. It's updated equals having vaccinations. That updated vaccination records that include vaccination. Right. And then on what schedule? On what schedule? So you're saying the school gets to tell you what schedule your kid gets vaccinated in order to learn, quote unquote?
It is just.
What do you think? You've got some little
appalling.
children. I mean, what do you think?
It's appalling. I mean, the level of infringement and just the
audacity,
the audacity and the hubris to say, "Oh, we know what's better not only for your children, but for the well-being of society, independent of your research and parental decision making." Regarding your children.
Yeah, and then what happens if you...
Unreal.
And then the parents... What is it? It's a Latin term. Parens patriae. It's the Latin concept that the state, owns your children, right? So, what happens if you don't update your vaccination records and they don't go to class? They're excluded from class because you excluded them, not because I didn't take them. They're going to say, oh, your kid's truant. You are abusing your children.
Despicable.
You're abusing them because you're putting them at risk for not vaccinating them, and you're not educating them by taking them to the school because we didn't let you.
Right. Because you didn't poison your child against their will. Potentially.
Consent.
I mean, people were so up in arms about non-GMO labeling and all this food stuff.
But then they're going to take an injection which has cultures of aborted fetal cells from the 1970s and fetal blood serum from aborted baby cows.
Right.
Synthesized and
grown
in
artificially.
laboratories. It's unbelievable. It's like
disgusting.
If you knew, most restaurants, you go to, there's something nasty going on, like with the food prep, that if you knew, you probably wouldn't eat there. Mm-hmm. And that's the case for most people. Most people are like a little even more anal about that than I would be personally, but they don't apply the same logic to something like vaccines.
Absolutely.
It's just blind trust, or fear of something like this, which is probably even worse than a blind trust.
Well, it's part and parcel to the overarching thrust of the authority, because they want it both ways. Yeah. They want people to just ignore the obvious while simultaneously being fearful of the consequences that they impose.
You should not to trust the flu shot based on how cheap it is.
Right.
If it was so effective, it would not be promoted and basically given away in many cases. So if they're giving it away, I mean,
in the whole defense is, it's not about profit, it's about public safety.
Okay.
And you're going to trust who with that job? The CDC, the EPA, and Big Pharma. Wow. You're trusting the wrong people.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
100%.
Because those are just the track record for their malfeasance is unreal. Right. It's literally hundreds of miles long. Like if you compiled all of the infractions of all three of those agencies in type print, you'd probably be able to line, half I-40.
Well, they had to create an entirely sort of standalone court system for the litigation that resulted from the injuries caused by vaccines, and all of those cases are handled in as far as I can understand, a proprietary manner. Resulting in the frequently reported, benefit of the pharmaceutical companies who created, it always ends up, they settle, but it's sort of like a cost of doing business. And meanwhile, these people's lives are impacted with their retarded children, for the rest of their life.
Or, extremely exacerbated crippling allergic reactions.
Yeah. Oh, but there's no evidence to show that. We just say that.
Yeah, even though it literally happens sometimes within minutes of the procedure of the
correlation is not causation, Xavier. Don't you know that?
Yeah, it's a nice catchphrase. I mean, but when they don't even apply it to their own quote unquote gospel science,
right?
It's just a nothing burger phrase.
Yeah,
especially when it's coming from them, because they're the ones who are constantly spinning ridiculous narratives regarding what causes what.
Yeah.
And it's purely speculative nonsense at the end of the day.